Welcome to today's episode of the Working Wisdom podcast series, brought to you by the CT Bauer College of Business at the University of Houston. We're having a conversation about work-life balance, how to navigate and overcome challenges within your career, and how to make business more accommodating to a diverse workforce.
Hi, this is Emese Felvegi. I'm sitting here with Andrea Acosta Rivera. Is that right?
Yes, that's exactly correct.
All right. And we're here today to talk about you and how you did all the amazing things that you have accomplished in spite of your old age.
My old age?
How old are you?
I'm 21 years old.
And you are graduating in
May.
So in just a couple months?
Yes.
What program are you graduating from?
So I graduated the Program for Excellence in Selling this past December, and I'm graduating with my double major in Marketing and Management in May.
How many people are in a PES at the same time? How many people are in a class?
So on average, there's usually about 60 people in the first semester as well in the second, so probably 120.
Okay. So Wolf and PES are both super selective in that regard. Mm-hmm. But they gave you a lot of opportunities.
Oh, they did. So they gave me so many opportunities because PES is what you make of it. So they give you all the resources to go and do everything you want, and you can either, get through the program and get your sales certification, or you can make an entire career out of it. Mm-hmm. So when I started my first semester, I got really close to my class, to my program managers, to the assistant program managers, and after the golf tournament, we also had this personal branding video we had to create. So in the personal
I remember. Yeah.
So in the personal branding video, it's literally a video just about yourself, and it's kind of a competition between your classmates, and all of the professors choose the winner. And I ended up actually being the winner of the personal branding video, so it got shown at the graduation and awards celebration at the end of my first semester. So that was how a lot of the partners started finding out about me. And then I also got selected to be the president for PES my second semester. So because of that, I got a lot more, FaceTime with the alumni from PES and with the partners. And then also being in the key accounts class, which I was chosen to be a part of, I was able to have partners underneath my jurisdiction, which I was able to control the partnership for the semester that I was in key accounts.
All right. But I know you did not start off wanting to do what you're doing today. So can you talk about how you got to where you are today?
Of course. It was actually a pretty funny story because it all started back in my senior year of high school. I was really involved with marching band and just a lot of UIL stuff, and I played the flute. So I actually got accepted to UH in the Moore School of Music as a flute performance major. And right before freshman year started, literally like 2 weeks before, I called my flute performance professor and tell her that I just can't do it because it's more of a hobby for me. So that was a very dramatic way to start off my college career. But once that happened, I changed immediately to biology. So logically just did a complete 180. And I did biology my entire freshman year, took all of my calculus, physics, all of those classes. I read the entire biology textbook and I loved it, but I felt like something was missing. So I was talking to one of my friends who was currently at that time in the Program for Excellence in Selling, and he was a marketing major. And he told me, he was like, Andrea, I think you have the perfect personality for business. And in my head, business was either all numbers or sitting behind a computer making ads, if we were talking about marketing. So I was just like, I don't really know, I really want to help people, and I love talking to people, which I think is only going to be possible if I go pre-med and become a doctor. And then...
Interesting.
Yeah, so that was actually my main motivation. I loved science, but my biggest thing was being around people. So I went to one of his marketing classes with him for PES, and I fell in love so quickly that I actually immediately changed my major to business right before my sophomore year. So when I came to business, that was the perfect opportunity for me to get involved with other people. And whenever I first got into business, I actually joined the American Marketing Association because I really didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with marketing. And I met a lot of really great people there during my time as the philanthropy committee chair. And because of that, I got more and more interested in different, career paths for marketing. And I actually interviewed for PES the first time, didn't get in because they told me that I really didn't know too much about business at the time. Okay. And I completely understand why, because I knew way more about sales than like actual sales at that point, seeing that I had just transferred from biology.
But that's also good because it didn't crush you because you knew you wanted that. So you worked for it.
Exactly. I mean, and honestly, I'm really happy that I didn't get in the first time because it gave me a semester to, get really involved with AMA, get really involved with the people around me. And then when I applied the second time, it just worked so perfectly that I really maximized the time that I had in PES.
So you graduated from PES December, graduating in May. What's next?
Ooh, well, I actually accepted my full-time job offer for VMware but this past November. So in July, I'm actually joining their sales academy, and I'm doing their inside sales account position full-time. So I'm excited.
Can you talk about, for the benefit of those who are in pre-graduation shoes, on how you got that, how you worked for it, how that opportunity came about, and why you said yes?
Of course. So it's actually really interesting that VMware popped up, because I actually wasn't really aware of them beforehand. I had done an internship over the summer with an industrial gas company, and I was actually possibly going to sign on with them. But then whenever we started on again with key accounts, that's next semester, I was talking to a lot of the partners, and eventually VMware actually reached out to me through LinkedIn. But a lot of companies usually...
Oh, really?
Yeah. So a lot of companies reach out through LinkedIn, and I thought it was just another company. And then I looked up the company, and I was like, wow, it's actually very interesting. So I started going back and forth with the recruiter, and he got me...
Still on LinkedIn?
Yes. So
Okay.
then he asked me for a phone call. So I ended up having a 1-hour phone call with him, which was,
Wow.
I guess, the initial interview. And then he told me that he really wanted me to talk for an hour with his district manager. So I talked with the district manager for an hour, and I wasn't really expecting much after that. I was expecting maybe to get an email telling me, oh, we either like you or we don't. But then they sent me another email, and they were telling me, oh, great job on the first 2 rounds. Funny thing, I didn't even know that was an interview. I literally thought that we were just talking on the phone.
Everything is always an interview.
Yeah.
But so as you were talking to them on LinkedIn, you were researching them, you were
Yes.
learning about them simply because you were curious.
Yes.
And then would you have been more anxious if you knew it was an interview, or did it help you that you didn't know? Or
I think it definitely made me a lot more natural in my approach. So I do believe that it did help me be a lot more natural. But at the same time, I do also think that knowing about the company and making sure that I knew about them, despite knowing that it was actually a phone interview, helped me a lot. Because they did ask me multiple times, so, I mean, what do you know about us? Do you know about what we do in technology? And it ended up being extremely beneficial. But what took me by the most surprise was whenever I got an email saying, oh, well, you've been selected to come to our sales assessment day in Austin. So we can fly you out, and you can have an entire assessment day so that we can decide whether or not you'd be a good fit. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going, I'm going to the last round, I guess, and I've never been to a full day interview. So when I showed up there was people there from Florida State, from Ohio State, from UT, from A&M. It was people from all over the United States, and it was an amazing experience.
so full day. Walk us through that full day.
Oh,
so
man.
you're there with all these people from big name universities, top competition, and you get it. How did you get it?
Oh, man. So I got there super early because they gave me the option to actually fly out there. And I told them that I would rather drive there because my dad was also, I was asking him about all of this, and he's one of my greatest mentors when it comes to my career, even though he's not in business. So whenever I actually decided to go over, my dad and I drove at like 5 a.m. to get,
wow.
yeah. So it was very interesting on the drive on the way there. And I just made sure to completely review everything on VMware and the people that I was going to be talking to. And then when we got there, we actually signed in the front, and they took us all to this waiting room. And there was about 20 people leaving the VMware office, and I had no idea who they were. And I asked one of them, and they were like, oh, we were the first wave of interviews. And I was like, oh no.
Wow.
I was like, that's like 40 people leaving right now, and now my wave has like 40 more people. And I was like, how many positions are there, first of all? I mean, because I was so confused. And when I got there, I started talking to the other people that were there, and they told me, they were like, yeah, we had our interviews. We're from Florida, Oregon, California. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is actually a big honor for me to be here. And when we actually started off talking to the recruiters who came to pick us up, they divided us into groups of 3. So there was a lot of groups of 3, and then they took us through these rounds of interviews. So the first one was a behavioral interview. That was an extremely interesting part of it.
Have you done those types of behavioral type questions before, or was it something that you encountered for the first time?
So, I mean, I had done behavioral interviews before, but nothing like that. So that happened, and then at the end of it, they were like, okay, yeah, we just wanted to see how you guys came to the conclusion. And then they took us to another room. They put us in a Q&A session with the other alumni of the VMware Sales Academy, and we were able to talk to them. They put us in another room, giving us an entire brief over of the company and about Austin and about all of the cool things to do in Austin. And then they actually took you to a panel interview with some of the managers. So in the panel interview, you were talking to two of the managers, and they just asked you questions back and forth.
Okay.
And finally, the last round was with like the main manager of everyone. So it was like the big boss.
So it's like, it's a little bit of you and here's our boss. Okay.
Yes. So it was, all in all, there was about probably like 3 or 4 rounds of interviews that day. And I had such a great experience with everybody there. Everybody was fantastic. But everyone that was also interviewing, I could tell, was, very well equipped. They came from really good universities. They had good experiences. So I really did not know what to expect. Mm-hmm. So I was completely mind blown whenever I got it.
All right. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Sounds good.
Join the conversation. Bauer College's Working Families Initiative is bridging the gap between industry and academia to create a conversation on how organizations can make the workplace more family-friendly. We're talking about flexibility, maternity and paternity leave, and career transitions. For more information about the Working Families Initiative at Bauer College, including upcoming events, visit bauer.uh.edu/workingfamilies.
And we're back. This is Emese Felvegi speaking with Andrea Acosta Rivera.
Hello.
Hello again. So you've been an RA for how long?
3 years now.
What is an RA, and where do they live, and what do they do?
So resident advisors we work for housing. So we actually live in the different residential halls around campus. So ranging from Cougar Village 1 to Cougar Village 2, Moody, but I personally live in Cougar Village 2.
Okay, so you have these regional, national trainings, conferences. What happens there?
So we do have our semesterly RA trainings where we get trained for incident reports. We get trained for, handling with all different kinds of residents. So it's a lot of really good people training, which I guess goes back to my whole fascination with people. But so we do that. And then I guess every year or so we do have our national conventions that you can apply to go to because they can't take all of the RAs. So this past semester I actually went to Oklahoma to go attend one of the conventions there, and I got to meet a lot of RAs from everywhere, even Mexico. So it was really fun.
When did you sleep?
Oh, that's the best question of all. Mm-hmm. I think, honestly, I don't need that much sleep to operate, but at the same time, I feel like it was very odd hours.
You're not sleeping, you're working all the time, you're networking all the time. But then I see you enjoying yourself.
Yeah,
So I know you're under a lot of stress for the courses, for opportunities, for your philanthropy, for the family, for your friends. Is there a balance that you're trying to seek, or you're just trying to go for all of it?
Of course, I think it is really important to prioritize yourself because, even if you do have a lot of energy, if you're using it all in the wrong places, you're not really going to see any progress. So I do see the most important thing in my life being people around me. So I always made sure to keep time for my family and my friends. I know that my family isn't that happy that I'm not going to Sugarland that much all the time. But, they do, and in the weekends we have dinner, and, I make sure to call them multiple times a week. And the rest of my family is actually in Puerto Rico. So I just call them over the phone because even if I did have free time, I can't just,
Yeah. The distance makes it harder.
Yeah.
But, you're carving time out for everything that is important.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get from point A to point B on campus?
I actually longboard. I love longboarding, yeah. So, I actually got my longboard right before I joined PES. So I got it I think it was the December of 2016 that I got my longboard. And I just fell in love with it. And it kind of took me a long time. Now looking back at it, it feels like a long time, but it was probably just 5 minutes. Or no, 10 minutes to walk from CV2 to Bauer. But now I can do it in 3. So, I'm seeing that I'm involved in so many things. I honestly think a big part of that is my longboard. It helps me be on time to everything. But now it's more of a hobby that whenever I want to de-stress, it's also, I feel like not only do I get places, but I get there in a way better mood than I would have if I just walked around campus.
And I really like that perspective, that you're pressed for time. You know that things are important. It's important not to be late.
Yeah.
And you found a fun and relaxing way of, well, at least I would probably be stressing out. Yeah, that's a good point about commute inside a campus even.
Thank you. It's actually a way that people can find me around campus now, because people could already identify me by my hair, and now they see my longboard and they're like, that's definitely Andrea.
If you would have to give one advice to students who are just now starting out, trying to figure out where they want to go, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to never forget the power of people, because that's something that's going to follow you for the rest of your life. And even more than having a 4.0, even more than having all of these things on your resume, people aren't going to remember your resume, they're going to remember you. So make sure to always leave an impact and make it a positive one. So just have fun, be happy, talk to everyone, and keep those lifelong connections from everyone you meet, especially because you shouldn't look to people as a way of climbing up. You should look with them as a way of partnering with people who are going to make the world better in the future.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Of course.
Thank you so much for listening. This was Emese Felvegi speaking with
Andrea Acosta Rivera.
Good luck, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Working Wisdom podcast series from the CT Bauer College of Business, brought to you by the Working Families Initiative. The initiative aims to provide support and access for women in business school and the workforce, and to generate research that organizations can use to implement policies and standards to benefit a diverse workforce. For more information about Bauer College and this podcast series, visit www.bauer.uh.edu/podcasts.